Thousands more troops heading to the Middle East after a deadly U.S. drone strike in Iraq.
Meanwhile, we are getting a look at what some local Marines are doing now overseas in Iraq with tensions there on the rise.
And one local woman sending out a warning to young adults about vaping after her habit landed her in the hospital. 10 News Midday starts right now.
Live from the Scripps Studios, this is 10 News.
The Pentagon is reportedly sending at least 3,000 more U.S. troops to the Middle East amid rising tensions with Iran. The quiet conflict hit a new phase overnight after President Trump ordered the assassination of a top Iranian leader. I'm Virginia Chow.
And I'm Derek Stahl in for Jim Patton. General Qasem Soleimani was killed in a drone strike at Baghdad's airport. ABC's Serena Marshall begins our team coverage.
Smoldering remains of one of Iran's top generals and political leaders, the result of an American drone attack at Baghdad airport, authorized by President Trump. Qasem Soleimani, the commander of Iran's Quds Force and the second most powerful leader in Iran behind the Ayatollah, was only identified by the large red ring on his hand. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo telling CNN the decision was necessary because
he was actively plotting in the region to take actions, a big action as he described it, that would have put dozens, if not hundreds, of American lives at risk.
Soleimani was blamed for backing the two-day siege on the U.S. Embassy in Iraq, protesting weekend airstrikes by the U.S. that killed 25 militia members. Those airstrikes in retaliation for an attack in northern Iraq that killed a U.S. contractor. But targeting a senior Iranian official is a major escalation by President Trump's maximum pressure campaign on Iran. Soleimani was a hero in Tehran for his battlefield exploits dating back to the Iran-Iraq War in the 80s. And the 2003 U.S. war in Iraq, where the State Department says his highly trained Quds forces were responsible for the deaths of hundreds of U.S. troops. But he was also key to Iran's efforts to help Iraq defeat ISIS, making a temporary partner of America's longtime enemy. President Trump tweeting this morning, the general killed or badly wounded thousands of Americans and was plotting to kill many more, but got caught. And claimed Soleimani was both hated and feared within the country. But already Iran's supreme leader has promised on Twitter a vigorous vengeance awaits those whose hands are tainted with his blood, and described General Soleimani as the international face of resistance. There are now fears that Iran's response could spiral this into a full-blown war. Earlier this week, the Department of Defense deployed an additional 750 troops to the region, but that's in addition to the nearly 14,000 troops deployed to the Middle East since May. Serena Marshall, ABC News, Washington.
Some of the service members deployed in Iraq right now are local Marines. 10 News reporter Marie Cornell is live outside of MCAS Miramar. Marie, the military has released some photos from the troops' mission protecting the U.S. Embassy.
Yeah, Virginia, these pictures give us an idea of what they're doing there and what they're facing in the Middle East.
As tensions remain high in Iraq with the U.S. Embassy under attack, about 100 of Marines from Camp Pendleton, Miramar, and 29 Palms were sent there. They're part of the Special Purpose MAGTF Crisis Response Central Command. This is the group's Facebook page. The most recent post shows newly released pictures from the military. The post says these Marines train extensively to deploy to the Middle East and serve as a rapidly deployable force for crisis response. In this first picture, you get an idea of what the situation is like there. There's a group of civilians gathered right outside the Baghdad embassy. And then you see Marines like this one, standing guard with a machine gun in hand, protecting the embassy. These Marines can be seen securing their posts with sandbags and Kevlar boards, ready to face forces at a moment's notice.
So this group of Marines were sent out earlier this week. At this point, there's no word on whether more local Marines will be deployed. Live near MCAS Miramar, Marie Cornell, 10 News.
Marie, thanks. And we're getting some political reaction coming in just within the last hour. Local Congresswoman Susan Davis released this statement, Democrats saying in part, there is no doubt that Qasem Soleimani was responsible for countless deaths and violence. What is not clear is the Trump administration's justification and the strategy for the aftermath of this dangerous escalation. Of course, we're going to stay on top of this developing story, and for more on the situation overseas and updates as it unfolds, check out the story on our homepage, 10news.com.
So this is new today. The State Department of Justice released data on stops by San Diego police showing a disproportionate number of African Americans being pulled over in the city. Now, these numbers come from reports by officers who wrote down things like race based on their perception because they're not allowed to ask drivers directly. Now, the numbers show 19% of SDPD stops involved African Americans, while census records list 6.5% of the city's population as black. The SDPD told us last month they commissioned an independent analysis of their stops separate from this latest report. We have reached out to them for comment and we're waiting to hear back.
The Ocean Beach Pier is back open this morning after a 3-day closure because of high surf. Crews shut down the pier on Tuesday as a precaution. They say there appears to be no damage to the pier. The waves hit a peak yesterday, but the swells could still reach up to 6 feet today. The high surf advisory is expected to expire tonight.
Police in National City still looking for a woman who ran away from them while in handcuffs. She escaped custody just after 2 this morning. She was last seen running toward the 5 freeway near the 7th Street on-ramp, and our 10 News breaking news record was there recording as officers searched for her for footprints. They haven't said why she was being detained in the first place.
Some neighbors on La Mesa jumped into action when they saw smoke coming out of a house. Overnight, those neighbors were able to wake up a man and a woman who were asleep inside that home around midnight. Heartland firefighters say there was something on top of a space heater, and that apparently caught fire. Luckily, nobody was hurt here, but the 2 people inside are now getting some help from the Red Cross this morning.
Vaping illnesses are on the rise, and one San Diego woman is warning young adults and kids to put down the e-cigarettes. 10 News reporter Natay Holmes joining us live from Sharp Memorial Hospital in Kearny Mesa. Natay, this young woman has been in the hospital, for the past few days now?
That's right. Lily McDonald had to bring in the new year here at the hospital. She has a long road to recovery. She says she had only been vaping for 3 months before she got sick. Now she wants everyone, especially young adults, to know just how dangerous vaping is.
It scares me, like, beyond belief. I just want other people to know how fast it can come on, how quickly this could change everything.
Lily McDonald has been in the hospital for the past 5 days. This is the first day, though, that she is able to breathe without using oxygen, but her levels are still pretty low. Doctors diagnosed the 21-year-old with vaping-induced pneumonitis, which is inflamed and scarring in the lungs. Now, she wants to be able to share her story to prevent this from happening to others. Now, the FDA is banning most fruit and mint-flavored nicotine vaping products in an effort to curb the rise in teen and young adult users. Under the new rule, which takes effect next month, companies that do not stop the distribution of these products are at risk of getting fined or shut down. Now, deadly lung illnesses linked to vaping has taken the lives of 55 people across the U.S. Now, McDonald recently finished her associate's degree at Mesa College before getting sick, and she also works full time. But as of right now, she doesn't know when she'll be able to leave the hospital. Live in Kearny Mesa, Natay Holmes, 10 News.
Natay, thanks. California among the top states people are leaving, where a report says those folks may be going.
The search underway after the SUV you're about to see flew off this California cliff and then disappeared.
And it will be sunny and dry through the weekend. I'll pinpoint how warm we'll get in your extended 7-day forecast. Now let's check traffic with CHP officer Tommy Strickland. Hey there, Tommy.
Hey, the traffic looks good out there. We did have a crash earlier. That was southbound 5 at La Jolla Village Drive, but traffic has opened up and it's back up to speed there. And that's going to be a nice drive for you all the way down into Chula Vista on the Interstate 5. I'm Officer Tommy Strickland with your 10 News Time Saver Traffic.
Back now with some stunning and tragic dashcam video that shows an SUV speeding over the edge of a cliff in San Mateo County, just west of San Jose. The CHP believes the car you see right there plunged down the jagged embankment, but at this point, search teams still haven't found the driver or the car. They did see some tire tracks on the cliff and car parts in the ocean, but they say they aren't sure if those car parts are actually related to the car seen in the video. There's high surf in the area, hampering their search efforts.
Now to Australia, where raging wildfires have scorched more than 12 million acres of land. And officials are warning the next few days will be even worse. Maggie Ruley is in New South Wales, Australia, with the latest.
We've been driving along this highway for hours here in Australia, and this is the type of scenes we keep seeing, just miles after miles of devastation. You can see just how hot and fast this fire burned through here. The trees are completely black, oftentimes charred top to bottom, and we've been seeing a lot of forests that have been, again, just completely destroyed like this, but also many homes, neighborhoods that have gone up in flames. And we spoke to some of the neighbors that lost homes even. They said they barely were able to make it out. That's how fast and quick the flames were coming to them. We also met other people that live near or in an evacuation zone and say that they're going to stay behind. They want to protect their home. They say they've lived through fires before, and despite the warnings, they want to try to stick it out. But firefighters are warning that Saturday is going to be intense. They're expecting even hotter temperatures, higher winds. Some people even referring to it as D-Day here in Australia. So everyone is looking towards Saturday, concerned about what's going to happen. Firefighters we met say they've been working on back burns. They've been working to control these fires. We saw water dropping aircrafts overhead consistently today, dropping water as well. Again, trying to do what they can to contain these fires. We already have more than 12 million acres that have been destroyed here in Australia, and they're still burning. So there's so much concern here today, not only for places like this that have burned, but for places that are under threat to burn as well. The devastation is so vast. Again, just to show you, see miles and miles behind me here, but it jumped the highway. It goes this way as well. This is a volatile, ongoing, and still very serious situation. This is Maggie Ruley here in New South Wales, Australia for ABC News.
A lot of people left the Golden State last year. California was among the top states for outbound migration in 2019. That's according to a new report. The report by moving company United Van Lines determined the percentage of inbound and outbound movers based on those who used that service. California ranked 7th among outbound states. New Jersey, Illinois, and New York took the top spots. On the flip side, Idaho ranked number 1 for inbound states, with Oregon and Arizona close behind. United Van Lines says the top reason for people moving was a career change.
San Diego could spend $100 million to repair sidewalks over the next decade. Our partners at KPBS reporting the city has a backlog of more than 81,000 repairs. Now, most of the money and repairs connected to injury payouts. Property owners are legally responsible for their own repairs, but because of these lawsuits, the city is now launching a new campaign to fund the cost. The idea here is to spend $10 million a year over the next 10 years.
We need to hire more crews to actually go out and do the work. We may need to expand some more contracts with contractors who come in and do the actual replacement. We need to expand the 50-50 program so that we can get all those people who want to share in that cost, actually get them to be able to do that.
The Transportation and Stormwater Division plans to hire 23 new employees to address these sidewalk repairs. Getting a look at the Sierra Nevada snowpack for the first time this year. The results of the latest survey and the water outlook for us for the coming year.
And new video showing how elsewhere in the country they're dealing with a little too much snow.
The California Department of Water Resources has conducted their first snow survey of the year.
The department says they measured 33.5 inches of snow depth and 11 inches of snow water content in the Sierra Nevada mountain range. They say that's about 3% below average for that location. The purpose of the snow survey is to measure the water content in the snowpack, which of course translates into the state's water supply. Officials say the cold weather storms in November and December put us in good shape for 2020, but they say precipitation in Northern California is still below average for right now.
This 10 News Pinpoint Weather Report is sponsored by Anderson Plumbing, Heating and Air. Nobody wows clients like we do.
And what about going forward? Mel, any precipitation in sight in the extended?
Not in the 7-day forecast. However, with the rain that we got recently, we are above average, at least here for San Diego. As we take you to Mount Laguna right now, we see a couple spots of some leftover snow, and not enough to build a snowman though. Not yet. No snow, no rain in our extended 7-day forecast here. Instead, we are seeing mostly clear skies as we take a look at Mission Bay at 11:18 on this Friday morning. We're in the 50s in Julian, so still pretty cool there. Low 70s in Ramona, so finally starting to warm up. Mid 60s in La Jolla, and Kearney Mesa, you are at 70 degrees. Our 24-hour temperature change, we are several degrees warmer here throughout the county, except for the deserts. That's the trend that we are going to be seeing. We've been talking about that high surf advisory. So yes, do keep in mind that the high surf advisory is still in effect here until 8 p.m. tonight. So we have surf between 4 to to 6 feet. Not quite as high as what we saw yesterday. Those local sets up to 8 feet, and it is going to continue to subside as we go on throughout the day. High pressure will build through the weekend, so we are going to see warmer temperatures over the next several days. The warmest day is actually going to be on Monday. Your forecast highs for today, we are seeing the mid to upper 60s here along the coast, low 70s in our inland valleys, so not a bad end here to the work week. Our 7-day forecast, no rain in the 7-day forecast. Instead, I think it's comfortable temperatures. Upper 60s here along the coast will be into the upper 60s to low 70s in our inland valleys. Overnight lows, though, will continue to remain on the cool side into the mid 40s. So you might want to bundle up underneath that blanket while you're going to bed tonight. Up in the mountains, that is the cool spot here in the mid 50s. The deserts at 71 today.